The studio lights of the view blaze too bright, catching every crease of Joy Behar's smirk as she leans forward, pen tapping against her cue cards. Keanu sits across from her, posture relaxed but gaze steady, dressed in muted tones that stand out against the loud set. The air is already tense not because of what has been said, but because of what everyone feels is coming. The audience claps awkwardly after Joy's forced joke about Hollywood privilege. Her words dipped in sarcasm that masks something sharper. Cameras zoom in. The moment feels smaller than it is, yet something in Keanu's stillness makes it feel enormous, as if everyone in the room understands the weight beneath the surface. A co-host laughs a beat too loudly, the kind of laugh that belongs more to nerves than humor. The first question is framed as casual. So Keanu, you've been vocal about certain issues lately? Isn't it easy to talk about justice when you've never faced injustice? Her voice is light, but the edge is unmistakable, a blade wrapped in satin. Keanu doesn't answer right away. The hum of the lights grows more noticeable, a low vibration that seems to fill the space between them. His eyes drift briefly toward the front row, to a young woman in a headset who looks away quickly, as if she knows this is about to go somewhere dangerous. He breathes in slowly, then replies, voice low and steady, you'd be surprised. Laughter breaks from the panel, thin and fragile, as though they're clinging to the familiar rhythm of daytime banter. Joy leans back, feigning ease, then tilts her head in mock curiosity, her pen still tapping. She presses again, words dipped deeper now, mentioning celebrity activism and hypocrisy with the deliberate weight of someone trying to corner their guest. The camera cuts to the audience. A man in the back crosses his arms. A woman in the front row shifts in her seat. The space between question and answer stretches too long for comfort, the air thinning with each second. Keanu's gaze returns to her, and when he finally speaks, his tone is calm but layered, the kind of calm that makes people lean in. I've seen things that can't be joked away. A silence follows that isn't empty, it's thick, almost visible, like heat. Rising off asphalt, the floor manager glances toward the control booth. Someone in the shadows raises their eyebrows in a silent question. Joy adjusts her cards, a quick movement that betrays impatience. Keanu leans forward, the faintest shift in posture, making it feel like the entire table just moved. His voice lowers. Maybe it's time we talked about who gets to decide whose pain matters. The words hang there, sharp and unhurried. Joy blinks, her pen still for the first time, and for a moment her practiced smile falters. One of the co-hosts shifts uncomfortably, the tension crawling across the table. The floor manager steps forward a half step, uncertain whether to break the moment or let it play. The producer in the booth mouths something urgent to a camera operator, but the lens stays locked on Keanu. He sits back again. The storm still in his eyes, but his voice gone quiet, as though he's already said enough for this moment. Joy forces a chuckle, the sound brittle, and begins to lift her pen again. But the floor manager signals a cut to commercial. It's too late, the energy in the room has shifted entirely. The applause sign flashes overhead, but it's met with hesitant clapping, like no one is sure they should be applauding at all. Fade out on Joy's fixed smile, her eyes holding just a flicker of something less certain. As the screen cuts to black, flashback narration bleeds in before the applause. From the commercial break has even faded, drawing from a place far older than the morning's tension. Keanu remembers a young crew member on a past set, someone barely in their 20s, standing in front of a director and a row of executives, their voice trembling as they questioned a casting decision that replaced an Afro-Latina actress with a lighter-skinned newcomer. The producer's laugh was sharp, performative, a public dismissal meant to remind everyone of their place. No headlines came, no public reckoning, just another moment swallowed by the industry's silence. The memory shifts again. A black stunt double, skilled enough to make impossible choreography look effortless, replaced in the final cut with a white actor wearing the same costume. The studio called it continuity, but everyone knew it. There was no confrontation, just quiet nods and a slow retreat back into work. These recollections carry no raised voices, only the steady erosion of dignity, moment by moment. Back in the studio, Joy's voice cuts through, coated in humor that hides its weight. You can't seriously believe Hollywood is racist, can you? You've had it pretty good. The audience chuckles hesitantly. A camera operator at stage right shifts his stance, his eyes flicking to the floor. The narration catches that he's the only black crew member visible on the set. Keanu doesn't blink, doesn't raise his voice. Instead, he tells a short, precise story about a production assistant denied entry to a rap party because security didn't recognize her, though she'd been on set every day for months. His tone is measured, almost gentle, but the truth in it lands with weight. A ripple of murmurs travels through the audience. One of the co-hosts leans sideways, whispering to a producer, "This is getting weird." The cameras stay fixed. The tension is becoming part of the show. The narration threads in a wider lens arc of all clips of media panels dismissing systemic racism as overblown. Footage of Joy herself laughing at her own joke about sensitivity culture years earlier. A radio host saying that people just need to toughen up. It becomes clear this moment isn't just about Joy's question, it's about the entire machinery that turns lived pain into punchlines. Joy tries to regain control, crossing her legs and leaning forward, her smile sharpened. But don't. You think focusing on this just makes things worse. Keanu doesn't flinch. He meets her gaze and delivers the pivot. You once said on air that people should get over the past. Does that include the families still living with it? The silence that follows is heavy, deliberate. A woman in the audience lowers her phone mid-recording, as if she doesn't want to intrude on the stillness. Joy opens her mouth, but no words come immediately. The hesitation in her eyes is small but unmistakable. It's the look of someone suddenly aware they're on unfamiliar ground, that the script they've rehearsed no longer fits the moment unfolding in real time. The hum of the lights seems louder now, filling the space where her answer should be. The pause after Joy's stalled response stretches longer than the format of live television ever allows, and by the time the red light on the main camera blinks again, the conversation has already drifted far beyond what the producers mapped out in their morning meeting. In the control booth, a producer's headset crackles with overlapping voices from network executives, their tone clipped and urgent. Cut it. Cut it now. The floor manager hovers near the edge of the set, waiting for a signal, but none comes. Ratings are spiking in real time, the live feed drawing more eyes by the second, and the tension has turned into its own spectacle. Joy leans forward, her tone tighter now, her rehearsed warmth replaced by something raw. Keanu, this isn't a social justice rally, it's a talk show. Maybe you should take your speeches elsewhere. The words land harder than she intends, the last syllable almost catching in her throat. The narration lingers on her hands, whitening, as she grips the cue cards, the pen between her fingers tapping once before going still. Her smile flickers, her laugh trailing into something thinner, more fragile. Keanu's posture doesn't change. He doesn't take the bait. Instead, his voice remains calm, steady, carrying the weight of something older than this moment. He begins to tell a story from the set of John Wick about a crew member whose father had been denied a factory job decades earlier, solely because of his skin color. A decision that altered the course of their family's life in ways no one on the hiring floor ever had to see. The details are unembellished, the delivery measured. He leaves space between sentences, letting the silence settle heavy enough that the audience can feel the distance between past and present collapse into the same air they're breathing. Faces in the crowd soften. One woman in the second row lowers her arms, leaning forward. Joy interrupts, her voice raised now, sharp enough to slice the room. That's not the same as real oppression. The words are louder than the applause sign blinking above them, and for the first time all morning, the audience reacts as one, a collective, audible gasp that seems to ripple through the studio. The narration shifts its focus to her, how a bead of sweat gathers at her temple and trails down the side of her face, how her eyes flick toward the producers as if searching for rescue, how the rhythm of her breathing changes just slightly, betraying the pressure folding in around her. Her confidence, so rigid at the start of the segment, begins to thin, the edges fraying under the weight of a moment that no longer belongs to her. Keanu pushes his chair back and rises, the movement unhurried, almost graceful. There is no flash of anger, no raised voice, only the quiet certainty of someone who knows when their presence has already said enough. He meets her eyes one last time, his words soft but immovable. Maybe not to you. The sentence lands with the finality of a closing door. He turns and walks toward the edge of the set, his steps echoing louder than they should in a room so crowded, each one pulling the air tighter. A camera pans instinctively to follow him, but cuts away after a single second, replaced by the frantic brightness of a hastily cued commercial. Back on the studio floor, the space he leaves behind feels suddenly too large, the table too wide, the chairs too far apart. The audience sits in a suspended stillness, the reality of what they've witnessed settling in like dust after a collapsed wall. By morning, the footage has taken on a life of its own. The exact moment his pause, his gaze, his quiet maybe not to you is replayed in slowed clips, captioned in bold text, dissected frame by frame. News anchors talk over each other about whether it was bravery or grandstanding. Social media becomes a split screen of allegiance. One side rushing to defend Joy as a provocateur, misunderstood. The other side naming her a symptom of something older, deeper, harder to laugh away. Hashtags bloom overnight. In her apartment, Joy sits at the glow of her laptop long past midnight, scrolling through comment threads until her eyes ache. She stops at a short post from a former colleague. You never listened. The words are plain, unadorned. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, but she closes the screen without typing a response. In another part of the city, Keanu moves through his day without granting a single interview request. The narration follows him into spaces untouched by cameras down narrow hallways, through the chipped doorframe of a community arts center. He has been funding it quietly for years. No press releases, no photo ops. Now the program's director tells him that enrollment has tripled in the last week. The the waiting list already full. A local news segment flashes briefly across a muted television in the background, showing his departure from the view, side by side with clips of teenagers painting sets and rehearsing lines. The narration lingers on the ripple effect. A studio in Burbank quietly commissioning an internal review of its casting policies. A late-night host ending his monologue with a single sentence. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stop talking and listen. Joy's career doesn't implode in a single day. It erodes in increments the way the applause during her introductions feels thinner. The polite but curt emails replacing warm invitations to panels. The sudden unavailability of old friends who used to linger after the show. The camera catches her on a street corner once, sunglasses hiding her eyes. Head lowered as a passerby recognizes her but doesn't wave. The story pulls away from her and returns to him. Keanu is in a small rehearsal hall, the kind with scuffed wooden floors and walls lined with mismatched chairs. A group of young actors, faces of every shade, accents colliding in the air, rehearsing a scene from a play older than any of them. The room smells faintly of sawdust and fresh coffee. He watches from a folding chair in the back, his expression unreadable, hands loosely clasped. A shy teenager, her script pages trembling slightly in her hands, breaks from the group and approaches him. Was it worth it? She asks, not looking him directly in the eye. The question hangs between them, its weight amplified by the quiet around them. He doesn't answer right away. The narration catches the small motions, the way his gaze moves from her to the group still laughing in the corner, the way his shoulders shift as if measuring the honesty of his next words. Finally, softly, he says, "It's only worth it. If it doesn't end here." The teenager nods, though it's unclear if she fully understands. The sound of voices swells again as the others call her back to rehearsal. He remains seated, watching them work, the corners of his mouth not quite forming a smile. The camera holds on his gaze steady, unflinching before fading into the sound of their overlapping laughter and dialogue, a quiet, enduring echo that settles deeper than the noise outside.